So I am Lisa Joyce and I'm from Purflo.com and I'm one of the UK's leading safe sleep product experts.
Wonderful. So tell me a little bit about some of the most common problems that new parents have with their babies.
So the common problems that new parents typically have, actually, they're not new. It's the problem that parents have had since the beginning of time. How can I get my baby to sleep, and how can I do that in a safe manner? And parents are desperate for more sleep. And part of the concern is worrying that baby's not sleeping in the right way, in the right place, and what's great nowadays is that parents are much more informed than ever before about safety, particularly at sleep time. And, sadly, every year 200 babies die from sudden infant death, and that's 4 babies a week. And perhaps even sadder is that half of those could be avoided. There are ways in which we can reduce the occurrence. But, the good news is that that's 83% less than it was in 1991. That we've made huge steps. And as an industry, our role is to make sure that we're constantly making sure that parents have got the most up-to-date information and that we're directing them to the right places for safe sleep information and that we're providing the right information at point of sale, and when they get the product home, and that it's all there, because it is overwhelming initially, but, very, very quickly parents get the confidence and they get to a space where they know exactly what they're doing. It's second nature, and they can get on with the job of enjoying parenting.
And as a new parent, what are the major things to look out for, do you think?
Yeah, the key things to be aware of as a new parent, obviously with SIDS in mind, is that baby doesn't get too hot, and suffocation as well, actually, and the two things are very closely related. So with regard to temperature, baby's temperature needs to be between 36, 37 degrees. Once a baby gets any higher than that, the temperature gets higher than that, then possibly they may have a fever, and you'll need to seek medical advice. But the key thing is that you're regularly checking baby's temperature. So there's a good old-fashioned way of doing that by sort of slipping your fingers down the back of their neck or feeling the chest, and you'll know if baby feels too hot, it's hotter than you, essentially. And if that's the case, then you need to make some changes, either environmental, so the room temperature they're sleeping in, or what they're wearing, what baby sleeping bag, tog that they're wearing, or the swaddle that they're wearing, or the clothing that they're wearing. You need to kind of look at the layers. And the great thing is that brands such as Pureflow provide a what to wear guide with the garment. So again, you've got some really good guidelines. But with regards to temperature, the other thing is that the room in which the baby sleeps needs to be between 16 and 20 degrees. And that probably feels quite cool for most adults, but actually it's perfect for babies, and the research tells us that that's the optimum temperature. Use a digital thermometer, a colour-changing one ideally, that tells you when you walk in the room if the room is too hot or too cold, and you can make changes, you can make environmental changes, but checking baby regularly, just keeping your eye on the temperature is really, really key. And I mentioned suffocation as well. That's another big contributor to sudden infant death. So get rid of those teddies out of that cot. They look great on Instagram. They're of no use to your baby whatsoever. You need to keep that cot empty and a very, very clear sleeping space. Make sure they're not wearing a hat indoors. Again, the part of the reason for that is that you don't want the hat slipping down over the face and creating suffocation issues, but also that's where the heat escapes. So remove that.
I mean, let's be honest here, a saturated market. How do parents or new parents find the right products out there for their needs and their baby's needs?
It's finding a new product as a new parent to this market. It can be very, very overwhelming, and one needs to be careful of jumping on the net and just sort of having a look at the reviews, etc. Because unfortunately, some of them are not impartial. They are promoted, they are paid for, and the other thing as well is that some reviews are it's very anecdotal. It's very sort of personal. I sleep differently to you, and our babies are exactly the same. So my experiences may not be that useful to you. I always say to new parents, get yourself over to one of the specialist websites or the specialist retailers, baby retailers, because what they've done your homework. They've looked at all the safety certification around product. They know that a product will have met British or European standards appropriate to it. And also they will have seen all the quality standards associated with it. So they've taken the headache out of that side of it. But also, typically, they'll have a panel of users, and so they can then kind of present a balanced view about if a product it does what it says on the tin. So we would sort of suggest that that's a better place to start. By all means, look at the review sites. By all means, chat to friends and family. I mean, my goodness, they're a brilliant source of information. But things are changing all the time, so a good retailer will take you a long way in the right direction.
I think finally, Lisa, just what would be your top tips, I guess, on helping your baby get down? You know, that's a big concern, I know, and a source of anxiety for a lot of new parents. What are your top tips, if you will?
Yeah, for sure. I think how can I help my baby sleep is always the big thing that we get asked at all the baby shows that we attend, and I would say always, as much as possible, and it sounds like common sense, but you want to be replicating all those things that baby was doing inside the womb. So in there, they had a ball, they were sleeping when they wanted, they were feeding when they wanted, they were rolling around, and then suddenly they come into this world where everything is structured and it's this big open space. So a couple of things you can do. You can get product, of course, to help with that process. So we do a swaddle, Purflo create a swaddle, which is all about keeping baby feeling cozy and self-soothe. There's lots of swaddles in the market. The key thing to remember is not to overwrap. Swaddling got some bad press a few years ago because carers and parents were wrapping too tightly, which was leading to cases of hip dysplasia. So a pre-shaped swaddle is probably better, particularly if you're tired, and you probably are with a newborn. Again, your midwife might suggest rolling up blankets and towels and making the space inside the cot smaller. So again, making the baby feel cozy and soothed. So at Pureflow we do a product which is it's called a sleep tight bed, and that reduces the sleeping space, so can help baby sleep a bit better. The other thing, as a pregnant mum, your baby will have started to hear very low frequency noises from around 22 to 24 weeks of your pregnancy. So, those noises, those car noises, those Hoover noises, the music, your chitter chatter, all of that actually is very, very reassuring to baby. So what you want to be doing is trying to replicate that as well. So having a white noise device is really useful in the room. And remember, baby should be sleeping in the same room as you for the first 6 months. That's really important. Important that you can check on things like temperature and making sure they're sleeping in the right position, making sure everything's as it should be. But essentially, they can hear your voice as well, which is really, really important. And then finally, I think a blackout blind is really helpful. So creating that really low-level lighting at bedtime, so baby gets used to these cues that it's nighttime, that it's sleepy time, and it's hard in those first few weeks getting baby into those routines, but once they find their rhythm, quite quickly they will start sleeping better. And if baby sleeps better, so do you.
Fantastic. Lisa, if listeners are interested in finding out a bit more information, is there somewhere that you could direct them?
Absolutely. The best place to go find more information around safe sleep products and safe sleep guidelines, head over to pureflo.com. So that's Purflo. And you'll find we have a safe sleep hub there. We've got experts on the website that have got routine information and regular blogs around things that come up for new parents. So, but also there's a free download leaflet, the Safe Sleep Guideline, and that's been put together using NHS guidelines as well, and useful tips around room temperature and around how to dress baby in different temperatures, different times of year with different togs of product.